I'm joined now by Time political reporter Zeke Miller, along with CBSN political contributor Hogan Gidley. He's also the former senior communications advisor for the Mike Huckabee campaign. So, Zeke, I think when you listen to Senator Brown, the first thing that comes to mind is how different the Democratic vice presidential selection process is from the Republican process. The Democrats won't even admit that they are being looked at. The Republicans were openly lobbying for the job and claiming that they were in the final one, the final two.
It's a traditional campaign and a non-traditional campaign. The way Hillary Clinton is running this vetting operation is the same way we saw Mitt Romney do it 4 years ago. Sort of the same way every other campaign does it, where you try to keep it secret. You want to have the surprise. And we're seeing with Donald Trump, Donald Trump had turned this into a essentially an offshoot of his apprentice program. It became the apprentice vice presidential edition. Everything was in public. You saw the open campaigning for the job, not something that was always considered unseemly. And he turned that yet another political norm he turned on its head.
Hogan, I'd say that probably reporters prefer the Trump version because at least, we can get some information about what's really going on. It's so tightly held on the Democratic side. From Republicans that you speak to, who do they feel would be the most formidable pick for Hillary Clinton? Who would cause them the most heartburn?
Goodness. I don't know that there's one in particular that causes us heartburn because we're so focused on Hillary. And polls show most people don't vote for the vice presidential nominee. They vote for, obviously, the president. I will say, though, we obviously have on the Republican side a large gap with popularity with the Hispanic community, for example. So if she were to pick somebody of Hispanic heritage, if African Americans turned out in droves like they did to support Barack Obama, if Hispanics do the same thing for Hillary Clinton, whether it be because of a vice presidential pick or not, that could spell some serious problems for us in the general election. And
one person that most Democrats who I speak to assume is on the shortest of short lists at this point is Tim Kaine, senator from Virginia, who obviously is not Hispanic but does speak fluent Spanish. And, you could read into the fact that Hillary Clinton is going to be announcing her running mate and appearing with that person for the first time in Florida this weekend, that might be a good place to unveil a running mate who speaks fluent Spanish. What is your reporting telling you right now, Zeke?
It's sort of Florida ultimate swing state. It's sort of very curious to do that there. I mean, she's running out of days to make this announcement. Why you wouldn't necessarily want to do it Friday because you don't necessarily want to assume that Donald Trump had a great night. If he had a bad night, you don't want to step on the bad coverage that might come with that. That's what I've heard from a lot of the folks in the Clinton campaign. They want to give his speech a day or so to breathe, and then they'll have the weekend and begin their convention, their week of sort of their more programmed and more normal infomercial for her and their party compared to what we've seen here.
Zeke, what in the world would make you think we'd have a bad night here at the convention? Everything's gone so smoothly so far. we're not talking about a speech from Monday on Wednesday, are we?
Yeah.
No, but look, I do think, I did cite the statistic, obviously, that most people vote for the top of the ticket, but it should be noted, we have two nominees that are the most disliked candidates in the history of presidential politics. So while people may not vote for the vice president, I do believe it matters more this cycle than in previous cycles because of the strong dislikes and the baggage from both Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. And that's why you saw a pick like Mike Pence, someone who's steady, that calms the concerns of the establishment, but also brings in some of the evangelicals that Trump was unable to wrap up, who are still Cruz types.
That also gives Hillary Clinton license to be kind of boring, too. Mike Pence was not.
Absolutely.
He's not going to give a barn burner of a speech tonight the way that Chris Christie did last night. Chris Christie would have reinforced many of the same sort of tendencies within Donald Trump. Picking somebody like Mike Pence gives Hillary Clinton an opportunity to reinforce some of her better qualities, not necessarily some of, sort of go for somebody who would sort of tap into the Democratic id in the way that, Elizabeth Warren would do that.
Right, and I don't know, look, Bernie Sanders received about 47% of the vote, so it's very clear that folks on that side do favor or do gravitate towards some of that progressive movement. I mean, what Bernie Sanders was able to do, by all accounts, is just incredible. So the question then remains, and I think that's what everyone still doesn't know, is she going to try and go more progressive? Or is she going to have the boring pick like a Tim Kaine, who's good? And I remember he said something on Meet the Press about being boring. It's boring. He admits it, I'm boring.
Which doesn't seem like that's helpful. It just you know, because now she gets questions about whether he's boring or not.
You don't want to overshadow. You don't want to overshadow the candidate.
Yeah, that's
the
true.
thing.
Hogan Gidley and Zeke Miller, thank you so much for joining me here. We got to go, but I'm sure we'll be talking ad nauseum about this vice presidential pick until we finally get the word in a couple of days. But thank you both very much.